What is going on, everybody, and welcome to a brand new segment on the channel that I'm going to be calling Bad, Good, or Misunderstood. And this is going to be the segment on my channel where I talk about movies that are typically reviewed negatively, but are either so bad it's good, misunderstood by the critics, or just genuinely bad. And we're going to talk about that in great detail with each and every one of these movies that I choose. And I thought that this segment would be perfect to start with truly an anomaly of a human being, and that is Mr. Neil Breen. I became familiar with Neil's work because of the guys over at Red Letter Media, and his films have sort of gained a cult following in the so bad it's good community. He's made a wide array of films throughout his career, but this was the first film of his that I was exposed to, and I thought this would be a very fun one to get this series going with. And the movie I'm going to be discussing with you today is Double Down. Double Down is directed by Neil Breen, an edgy action thriller set in Las Vegas during a terrorist attack. A genius computer loner takes control of the city as he fights his fits of overwhelming depression and obsessions with love and death. Well, shout out to whoever wrote the description of the plot of that movie because it's way more cohesive than whatever the plot of this movie actually is. And what I will say about this movie is Neil Breen is one of a kind. This is truly one of the most confusing, ridiculous, absurd, nonsensical piece of filmmaking that I've ever watched in my life, but it is also incredibly entertaining and almost endearing in a way that's like charming, because it's clear that like Neil Breen truly like believes in what he's trying to convey to you. He just doesn't know how to do it in a way that's like competent when it comes to the filmmaking or the screenplay or any of that. Like, most of this movie just feels like a collection of scenes happening in front of you, and it's truly just something that you have to experience firsthand. And I'm excited to tell you about it today. So the plot of this movie is there's really no plot, and that's really the through line theme of most of Neil Breen's work. The loose idea of the movie is that Neil Breen plays a man who is the greatest computer hacker tech genius that's ever lived. And he's worked for the government, he's done all of these different things, and his girlfriend, fiance, was murdered by someone, and so he's hit this enormous fit of depression where he's like living in his car while he's doing all this work, and he's apparently been told to do some sort of job where he's going to shut down the Las Vegas Strip for some reason. And the movie is just following him in his day-to-day life as he is about to do whatever this job is on Las Vegas. And it truly is just the most random set of scenes imaginable. One of my favorite things in this movie, lives in his car, and the most comical thing about the movie is he's got like 300 laptops where he's just like sitting in the back of his car, and he'll like type on one, move to the other one, and it just becomes ridiculous. Like, the more it shows up in the movie, the more absurd it is. He has like two giant satellite dishes that are hanging off the back of the trunk of his car. And I'm thinking to myself, like, when Neil Breen's coming up with this character, he's like, oh, I've got to figure out a way that I can constantly be honed into technology. So I'm gonna have all of these in my car. And it's so funny. There's like a scene with him where he's like asleep in the back seat of the car, and he has like two of the laptops on his stomach and like one of his 9 cell phones. There's a scene of him, he's like, they're constantly out to get me. They're gonna find me nonstop. So I constantly have to change my identity. And it's just him going through like 11 different license plates that are in his trunk. And he literally shoots in real time him unscrewing the license plate and putting a new one back on his car. And there's just a lot of that. He also loves to eat tuna, which is one of the funniest things in the movie, is he just eats straight tuna out of the can. And like, when he opens the trunk of his car, he's got like 90 empty tuna cans in the back of the car. And so you're really just getting a great idea of who this guy is, but not really, because we don't really know who he is. He goes on these long bouts of expositional dialogue where he talks about like how corrupt the system is and how awful the government is and taking advantage of its citizens. And it's very obvious through Neil Breen's entire filmography, but starting with Double Down here, what his perception of the United States government is and how he feels like they constantly screw over the citizens. And so he has some interesting ideas here, but his approach of trying to tackle it just completely baffling. There's so many great scenes in this because he's supposed to be this tech genius, but he also is like great with chemical warfare. So he's like, I have to test this chemical on this brief part of the water supply, and it shows him like sprinkling probably what was flour into the water, and then he cuts and there's all these dead fish on the side of the water. It's wonderful. I loved that part of the movie so much. And also, one of the things that the film is trying to explore is apparently Neil Breen is Jesus Christ. He has healing powers that were given to him by a homeless elderly man living in the middle of the desert that gives him this magical rock and tells him that he's the chosen one, and so he can heal people. They cut to a random scene out of nowhere where he's eating dinner with these people. We have no idea who they are. It just cuts to the random scene of him eating dinner, and the guy just looks at him and says, yeah, we got some really horrible news. Our daughter has brain cancer. And he's like, oh, that's horrible, but I can heal her. And so he puts his hand on her, and you hear this like magical music in the background. And we are meant to believe that Jesus Christ, or Neil Breen as he calls himself, was able to heal this young woman by this power that is located in this rock, which is just, it's incredible what goes through this man's mind. I have no idea where he comes up with this stuff. And a lot of the scenes in this movie that really made me laugh the hardest are just Neil Breen climbing on rocks in the middle of the desert. Like, there's just these really long scenes. Like, he's trying to make himself come across as this really cool, suave, like secret agent type of guy, but he's like fumbling over these rocks and almost slipping and falling nonstop. And instead of like editing it in a way that makes him look cool, it's truly like the goofiest, funniest schlock that you've ever seen in your life, of him just slipping and falling down the sides of his cliff. And then like he parks his car underneath the rocks, and every day he has these like depressive dreams about his dead fiance, which is one of the funniest scenes in the world. When she gets killed, he like proposes to her at this swimming pool, and they're both like naked, and she gets shot, and she's like floating dead in the pool, and then he's floating next to her with his ass up. And it's just like, what is going through his head? It becomes like an avant-garde surrealist film piece where he's just like, oh, I'm gonna put, you know, it's symbolic of that my soul or my spirit has died with her. And it's just like the things that go through this man's head and how he thinks that he's going to be able to convey this information. Like a normal person would not have this mentality with how to set this movie up. And it's like I said, it's just a collection of scenes. Like, none of it really makes any sense. But Neil Breen is such a fascinating human being. It's impossible to watch and not be immersed. Like, there's a random part of the movie where he's like cruising the Las Vegas Strip, and he's told he needs to he needs to kill this couple for some specific reason that just got married at this wedding chapel, and he kidnaps them, but he accidentally gets the wrong couple before he has to go after the actual real couple. And it comes out of nowhere, and just the way it's handled is absolutely hilarious. There's like random gunfights that break out towards the very end of the movie that it's like, where do these people come from? And Neil Breen's justification for it is just everyone on Earth is out to get him. And I feel like there's got to be this like very internal struggle with himself, as like he's making himself out to be this really cool guy that's also tortured internally, and that the world just sees him like not for the quality of human being that he is. I feel like it's very much like the Tommy Wiseau syndrome, where you write yourself as this like tortured character, so it's like, everyone feel bad for me, I'm this really cool, smart, intelligent guy. And like, there's so many scenes where he's just like, I miss you, can't stop thinking about you, about his ex-fiance, and he's like, I don't know how I'm gonna go on. And it's like, you can just see he's writing himself so much into this character, which is also what provides an immense level of enjoyment to this movie. As far as the filmmaking quality, I have to discuss this in a little bit of detail. One of the things that I love so much about this movie is Neil Breen loves stock footage. There is so much stock footage in this movie. I just lost count. I was gonna write down how many times stock footage gets put into this movie, but it seems kind of like a nonsensical task because there's stock footage every 2 scenes. Like he can't shoot in specific locations in Las Vegas, so he pulls like there was one point where it felt like it would be like a casino training video for like people working at a casino, and it just made no sense as how he was cutting things in. And then one of my favorite scenes in the movie, which like isn't that engaging of a scene, but I just found it to be really funny, is there's this scene of dialogue where he's meeting up with these people in the parking lot, but he was clearly afraid to shoot the scene in the parking lot. So you get like the cars pulling in and characters getting in and out, and like when there's dialogue between them, it's ADR'd until he like pulls out and it's like a shot of their head with nothing in the background except for blue sky. And they clearly shot those scenes in the desert because he was afraid to shoot inside of whatever grocery store parking lot that he was in Las Vegas. And there's so many funny moments like that throughout the movie that it was clear that he was like afraid to shoot in specific places in Vegas because he didn't have permits. They're clearly like just doing this like someone's pointing a camera and rolling. And I love that. I just think there's such like a charm to movies like this because it's not a good movie by any means. It's really bad, but there's something endearing about the fact that this guy feels like he's making an incredibly quality piece of filmmaking that's like akin to Mission Impossible or something, but it's just the story isn't there. Like the entire time I'm watching the movie, I'm like, what am I watching? But I don't care because it's so hilarious. Like Neil Breen is just such a ridiculous human being that it makes this entire experience enjoyable. In the ending, I was laughing so hard. I couldn't stop crying at the end of this movie because of how hard I was laughing. And I cannot wait to do more Neil Breen movies for this segment because I just think he's such a fascinating individual. And I'm always curious as to like what draws people like this to continue creating art. Because like, yes, this is art in one way or another, despite the fact that it's incredibly inept and like a lot of the filmmaking decisions are baffling. The musical choices of this movie are also very wild. You just have to hear it, like the snippets of music in this movie, very interesting choices. But and the performances in this, not just Neil Breen, but like everyone, it's such like flat dialogue delivery. Anytime there was like any other characters on screen, that also provided a lot of laughs to the movie. But I think if you've never seen a Neil Breen movie before, this is definitely the a great starting point. You will 100% enjoy yourself watching Double Down. So have you seen Double Down? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you thought. I thought this was incredibly entertaining. I laughed so hard I cried like 3 different times, and I can't wait to watch more Neil Breen. As always, if you can like the video and subscribe to the channel, helps me out a lot and lets me know the type of content you're looking for. I'm always putting out new material and look forward to getting more out for you in the near future. And as always, everyone, thank you so much for watching and have a great rest of your day.